My whole life I've felt like a failure, and it's not all the time. It's not like I'm constantly walking around feeling like a failure, but there's definitely moments that are clouded by failure or maybe not being good enough. And one of the reasons why I love running so much is the experience of running and training and racing and just being out there teaches me personally so many lessons that I can apply to my life immediately or over the course of a training block. I learn a key thing that I can then implement in my life, and I think I've been able to figure out one of the ways to stop feeling like a failure and instead win and feel more like a winner with running. And if you read between the lines, you could implement this in your life. It's something I'm working on. It's something I'm trying to implement in my life a little bit more because I don't want to feel like a failure all the time, right? And I think failure can be good. It can be a motivator. I think, well, I know when I attempted my first 100 miler and only made it 66 miles, I felt like a failure. And I used that as fuel to then finish the race a year later. But to always walk around feeling like you're not good enough or a failure is just not like I feel like that was less about failure and like reframing things. Like in that moment or over the course of your training, I used that failure and reframed it as in this was something that taught me a lot that'll help me finish the 100 miler. I think that had more to do with reframing than feeling like a failure, even though that's what sparked the reframe. Though it can be helpful, right? Like we don't have to look at failure as a bad thing, but if I'm constantly walking around feeling not good enough or like I'm failing at running or in life, I mean, that sounds like a terrible life to live. I don't know about you, but like I just don't want to always be feeling that way. And so I think what I've learned from running is what I wanted to get into in this video is the way to feel or win at running is to set the terms of what winning means. And this seems kind of like a no shit race, right? But when you take a moment to think about that and ask yourself, like I've been asking myself, what is winning to me in running? What makes me feel like a winner? And what makes me feel like a loser? And if you start to evaluate that, I think sometimes you realize one, maybe you don't have any terms, so now you have empty space to fill it with. Or maybe two, there's something that's unachievable, or maybe it's achievable, but you can't do it all the time, so you're going to be failing a lot of the times. And a very quick example of this is like running 70 miles a week. And if you have that goal, I've had goals about volume. I'm not saying that's wrong. What I'm saying is the terms you set dictate how you feel. And so if I'm setting a goal of running 70 miles per week every week for a year, and then one week I'm injured and I hit 40, I'm going to feel like a failure, right? Because I didn't achieve that goal of 70 miles per week. And I'm still trying to find the balance between goals that help me strive and push forward and these like just being okay with like there's this balance that I'm trying to figure out. But like in this specific example, I failed because I missed a 70-mile week, right? So of course I'm going to feel like a failure. Of course I'm not going to feel good enough. It isn't great to fall short of goals, right? And again, you can use that as motivation to push forward and change and learn and get better. But it's an example that you can kind of copy and paste with anything, right? So for example, a big goal of mine with running has been to win races. And so guess how I feel when I don't win the 10K turkey trot on Thanksgiving? I feel like a failure, right? And so I'm not saying those goals are bad, right? Because I still have goals of winning, but I also have these A, B, C, D goals. Like I have these other goals that if maybe I can't get that goal, then this C goal is still fulfilled or this D goal is still fulfilled, and so it still feels worthwhile and it still feels like progress. And so, for example, what if the goal of running is to just be present and take a step away from life and thinking and doing, but just being there in the run? I've been doing that a lot recently, and running feels rewarding again. For a while, it wasn't as rewarding, but I knew I enjoyed it, and I think a lot of what it was is the terms to it, right? Or if it's like I have to run this certain pace, what if the goal was not about pace per se, but it was like giving your best effort on that day? And I know that sounds the same, but it's not. Because what if, for example, you were traveling or you're sick or the kid kept you up at night, right? Like if you went into that run thinking I'm going to run 6:30s and you don't, you're going to feel like a failure. Versus trying to tune in and be like, I'm going to give my 95% effort because that's good for tempo workouts. And that's still productive if you're running hard, even if you're sick and fatigued, even if it wasn't 6:30s, right? And so again, I'm still trying to navigate. Like, I don't want to use this idea as a cop-out from goals, because there is a time and place to be like, I'm going to finish this no matter what, or I am going to run X amount of miles, or I'm going to do this long run, right? Like, I don't want to, like, set a plan for 20 miles on Saturday and just being like, oh, I worked hard for 15 miles, it's okay to stop now, right? Like, I don't want to use it as a cop-out. But if we're thinking about the general philosophy of just feeling like you're progressing or feeling like you're winning, if you set a specific term, which again, I'm really liking the present idea. If I'm winning when I'm present, then I'm focusing on being present, and that feels like progress. And I guess there's times where I'm not present and that's a failure, but it just doesn't seem as like big of a, like as high of stakes, as like winning or a certain pace. It's like being present and this practice of continuing to be present. There's probably other ways, and if you can think of something that like your winning is at running, I'd love to hear it if you leave a comment or message me. I just want to get it clear that a lot of the times we feel like a failure, in my opinion, because we've set terms that we're going to fail at or are not always achievable, right? Maybe it's not always achievable to run 6:30s. So if you're thinking that's the way you win, well, you're going to fail some days, and some days you'll win. And if you're okay with that, that's fine. I'm very extreme, where if I set a goal and don't achieve it most of the time, then I'm like I'm in my feels about it. I'm trying to get away with that. I'm trying to not do that, and that's why I've been thinking about this concept. If I get to set the terms, and if I get up on time and I'm present, that makes the run pretty fulfilling. And maybe I have these sub goals in there of like running this pace or this volume or whatever. But if I can go out and enjoy it, that's a win to me. And so that's my idea when it comes to how to win at running, is you set the terms and really just reflect on, are your terms proper for where you're at? And maybe it is about winning something, and great. You just are probably going to feel like a failure if you don't. And if you're okay with that and can bounce back from that, like I have, because I've been able to do that, with saying I want to win and then not, and then winning the next year, that's cool. It's just sometimes I get bogged down in this like feeling like I'm not progressing, or it's like just all failure. And it's not. It's just the term that was set made it so, if that makes sense. So maybe I'm getting too philosophical and too deep about it, but it's something I'm thinking about, and I hope it helps you in trying to feel like you're winning. And like I said, you can apply this, I think, to life in general: work, family, relationships, etc. So I hope you got something out of this video. And if you have some sort of goal, I'd love to hear it if you comment on it. And if you like running, fitness, stuff like that, this is what this YouTube channel is about. So if you like that, feel free to subscribe. If not, I still hope you got something out of this, because I'm trying to help people learn from my mistakes in running and just deepen their relationship with the sport. So with that being said, that's the philosophy with Reese for the day. I hope I see you in another video sometime soon. Peace.